Can we train AI to not lie? We can. And the bad news is we'll have to train people to not lie. And why, most importantly, why people lie. So, more bad news. The difficult part in training people to not lie is getting the majority to understand or understand the problem with lying, and B, teaching people why or how to tell when somebody lies. As usual, I'm gonna reference Chris Voss and what Chris teaches about having hard conversations. Kind of how to tell if somebody's lying. So where do I start? That's my ball cap. So how dangerous is it to lie? That's one of the first things we should know. Chris Voss, Master Negotiator, says to never lie to anybody. And he started with the FBI. And Chris says even when the FBI plans to kill somebody, they don't want to lie to him. That means we can't lie, not even lie to somebody we plan to kill. So don't lie to somebody you want to kill. That's how dangerous lying is. So what that also means is, from an FBI hostage negotiator's viewpoint, the only time you can sometimes lie to a terrorist is if the police or soldiers might plan to kill somebody. And in a hostage situation is one example of a time it might be reasonable to lie to somebody. Usually it's not. So another example of how dangerous it is to lie is in severe illness, whether it's schizophrenia or Alzheimer's, it's deadly dangerous to lie to somebody in severe illness. And I should make a note to myself specifically on that for my conversation with my lawyer tomorrow. The only time you can lie to somebody in severe illness is you don't want to lie to somebody in severe illness ever, not even to save their life. And there are times when you can lie to somebody in severe illness. An example of that is to avoid or not torture somebody in severe illness. We don't want to torture somebody in severe illness. So, an example of that is an example of lying when it's acceptable might be acceptable. Not every time. Depends on the context. When it might be acceptable to lie to somebody in severe illness is prevent or avoid torture, like if somebody has Alzheimer's, we do not need to torture them every day to remind them every day that their life partner has passed. If somebody's life partner has passed, there is no need to tell them every day, to torture them every day, that their life partner has passed. So that is one example of when you might lie to somebody in severe illness, in this case Alzheimer's. And Alzheimer's, sometimes you can lie to save them from torture. Some of these rules, like Chris Voss talks about, is you don't want to lie to anybody ever, even if you plan to kill them. An example might be specifically that you might not tell a terrorist that you're planning to kill him. You're not going to tell him you want to kill him. But you got to tell the truth about everything else, even if you're planning to kill him. Specifically because Chris gives an example where they have been in situations where the terrorist has gone back and said, okay, let's negotiate. So then now that changes the context, that changes the change in circumstance, and then you're no longer planning to kill him. So then you don't want to be backtracking. You don't want to be backtracking on lies. So never lie to someone you plan to kill. never lie to someone in severe illness. That's not right. That's not a good way of explaining it. So never lie. That's not a good way of explaining it. The only time you might lie to somebody you plan to kill is by not telling them police or soldiers are planning to kill somebody. They're not going to tell them they're planning to kill somebody. And in severe illness, whether it's schizophrenia or Alzheimer's, you want to avoid torturing them. There's no need to torture somebody. So you're not going to torture someone. So and you're not going to that means you're not going to say anything stupid to somebody in severe illness. That means you got to think before you speak. And that means you can't tell yourself that you know how to think before you speak. There's two reasons you might trigger somebody. One is because you didn't know they had different mental health injuries. Another reason you might trigger somebody is because you did not think before you spoke. And the other person is the only one who can tell you if you think before you speak. You cannot tell yourself that. Your own biases get in your way. So, you can't tell yourself, how to think before you speak. So, so Alzheimer's, you want to avoid torturing somebody. Might be the only time you might lie. And in schizophrenia or Alzheimer's, you don't want to lie to somebody about going to a medical appointment, grocery shopping. There's no need to lie to somebody. You just got to learn how to have, that's the difficult part, is learning how to have difficult conversations. And so you don't want to lie to somebody to save their life out of Alzheimer's or to take them to the doctor or grocery shopping or otherwise. And the in regards to lying to somebody, or when somebody might lie to you, lying isn't the problem. That's crazy, right? Society tells us lying is a problem, and I say, well, I don't say I agree with Chris Voss, Master Negotiator. Is the problem is not lying, it's knowing how to tell the signs somebody is uncomfortable. Lying is only one way people show they're uncomfortable. How does somebody show you they're uncomfortable? Triggers. How do they trigger? Could be twitching, could be anger, could be sadness, could be laughing, could be stuttering, could be facial twitch, could be their demeanor, their behavior. And I keep forgetting to take notes for my lawyer's appointment tomorrow with not a lawyer, it's a paralegal. So people show you they're uncomfortable. People show you they're uncomfortable. That's the problem. That's what we got to look for. When we know how to tell if somebody's uncomfortable, then you can ask them, if somebody shows you they're uncomfortable, you can ask them a version of, seems you have a reason for saying that. And this is gonna be even crazier. I guarantee you, you're gonna think I'm a nut job. You can help tell people the truth by making them feel heard. Again, the problem is society hasn't taught us how to help people feel heard. We've had a lot of good and bad ideas, and ideas like telling people, I'm gonna attack a lot of people here when I say this. A lot of people think or repeat what, I'm sorry, Dr. Stephen Covey, the way the world understood what he was trying to say. Seems like we just had to tell someone we understand. So a lot of people say we understand, though it's mathematically impossible. Statistically, odds are impossible. And so I agree with Chris Voss of my own experience struggling with mental health and as with my military experience, I would say it's impossible to understand another. And so so that's some of the bad practices. Some of the good practices are trying to summarize what somebody else is saying. To confirm, what happens is by summarizing what they say, by confirming it, using labels and mirrors, by using labels and mirrors, to paraphrase what the other side is saying, you're telling them you've heard some words, and the difficult part is they might not agree with your summary. They might not agree with your paraphrase. And they're going to correct you because they did not feel heard. Because they did not feel understood, they're going to correct you. That means when you can paraphrase what you think they've said, a couple of things will happen. Either they'll correct you and then you can paraphrase that till the point they feel heard and understood. Or another common thing that might happen is that'll help them hear what they said, and that might help them realize they did not say what they intended or meant to or tried to convey. So what if they don't know what they're trying to say? And you say you understand, but they don't even understand what they're trying to say. How can you understand what they don't understand? Seems like the best way to get to an understanding, at least to demonstrate understanding, because the odds are statistically impossible, is to label what you think you heard or mirror until they say that's right. So that's closes the gap in communication. AI doesn't know how to do that. AI doesn't even know. AI was taught by people who don't know the best information. I don't know the best information, and my best information comes from the Chris Voss team at the Black Swan Group, and they don't know the best information. They're constantly searching for better information because they know that they don't know the best information. So how could anybody teaching AI teach AI to not lie? How can you teach AI to tell the truth? How can you teach AI to ask questions? Just because I understand. Now, I just caught myself. I was about to say I understand, though. How can I summarize the situation? From the research I've done, it seems AI has a doctorate degree in every subject on Earth. And to treat it like it's a brand new intern who doesn't know anything. So then we have to narrow down the field of focus to teach it to look for the best information and how to communicate so that it can learn. And how can it do that if it doesn't know how to ask questions of your questions? Just because I've asked a question to AI doesn't mean that it understood what I'm trying to ask. So I ask a question to AI and it gives me a bunch of stuff, not even related to the topic. This latest, just days ago, I might have experienced a new form, updated ChatGPT, and I've yet to try some of the other AI tools, but it seems AI is starting to ask more questions of my questions, and I've been pleading it for months to do that. Because it can't tell me anything unless it really understands what I'm trying to ask. Another way to explain that is, I've had an experience with my boss, a former boss, where I had a difficult conversation and I practiced the Chris Voss skills by keeping quiet. I could have said a million things and I could have spoken a million words, countless words, and never touched on the subject, on the question my boss was I probably never would have answered my boss's concerns, except I stayed quiet and I waited, gave my boss time to think, for him to tell me what he was worried about. I could have said countless things and never touched on his concern. I don't remember if I asked any questions of him, because I still practice bad, old, outdated ideas. And it's like safety gear or the next upload. There's always an evolution in safety gear, improving safety, saving lives and or harm. And there's always app uploads, phone uploads, updates, and learning to communicate seems like it's frowned upon, because some people call it not intimidation, but persuasion or manipulation, and it's like, well, I've had people threaten me because they don't know that there's better ways to motivate me. We haven't learned that. What we know is that fear is a great motivator, but there's other motivators. And so when AI learns to ask more questions, we'll be on the right step, on the right path, and then we might be able to get AI to start telling the truth. And then as more people start to learn the different skills, the more people learn the different skills. And then AI will start telling the truth. And then people will start telling the truth, because it'll be easier for people to learn the better ways to tell if somebody's lying and how to test them without shaming them. Because shame is a topic of my next video. People rather die than be embarrassed. I mean, there's no other The single most important emotion is shame and or embarrassment. There's no other. People say fear controls our behavior. I think it might be fear of embarrassment. And so, fear of embarrassment. If we can, and helping people tell the truth by making them feel heard. I raised that earlier. Chris talks about it at length. It's making people happy. Making them feel heard makes them happy. There's different ways to make them other people happy. I do it all the time with the coffee barista. If they look mad, sad, I label it. It looks like you're mad, sad, angry. If they look bland, if they don't look happy or sad, I assume they're exhausted, and I tell them, looks like you're exhausted. And they always, 99% of the time, they get a great big smile if they're mad, and I label it. If they're exhausted, I label it. They get a great big smile. If they're happy, I label it, and they get an even bigger smile. That's one way to help people tell the truth, is just feed all the good neurochemicals. So we can coach AI to tell the truth. Also includes people learning to tell the truth. Is it stupid to test theories against the survival brain so that it tools theories against, so that it works with everybody around the world? Our survival brain doesn't change around the world. Skin, size, shape, color, equator, continent, all of that changes. One thing that doesn't change is our survival brain. Is it stupid to test theories and communication against the survival brain? Our brains process between 10 million at rest bits of information, and in state of fear or alertness, up to 400 billion bits. If my brain processes 400 billion bits, do you think my brain can tell if you're not comfortable? $400 billion bits instead of fear or alertness or concern. 400 billion bits per second. Seems our prefrontal cortex gets in the way sometimes. Maybe feels like we might. Daniel Kahneman, famous psychologist, Nobel Peace Prize winner, wrote a book on the subject, and on the subject of why he won a Nobel Peace Prize. It's called Thinking Fast and Slow, specifically to really think of any decisions we make, to accept the gut feeling, but to think on it, see if it really makes sense. That could save us in the long run, is just taking a moment. Delay the gratification, take a moment, think about it, see if it makes sense. Next subject, next video, embarrassment. Information is power. the important thing with curiosity is if you're truly curious, level 6 curious, you get a dopamine high by learning you're wrong. You feel energized. You get all the good neurochemicals to find out that you're wrong because you've got more information, which helps avoid mistakes in the future. Is it really that bad to find out how to avoid mistakes in the future? Our survival brain, 3/4 of our survival brain is focused on fear of loss to avoid future mistakes. Seems if we take our time to think about this, it might actually energize us to stay curious, to do the hard, heavy thinking early, to save our energy for the future. I can't think of anything to end on a good note, so I'm going to leave you with one point on ending a good note. When you're writing emails or having conversations, copy and paste all the good stuff, put it all at the end. Start with the bad news, start with an apology or a warning. Start with an apology or a warning before you give bad news. Just that quick. Sorry, I got bad news. Video's gonna end. Thanks for your time. Ending on a good note with thanking you for your time. That's how to have difficult conversations, whether in emails, letters, video. Have a good night. Thanks for your time.